And Crunchy gets 10 days for what the court says contempt charges on the bench sitting at the election petition hearing.
You go into your Oscar platform, you see your adrenaline level goes up, and then you make all sorts of things. Because this is the court, and whatever decision that comes out of this court binds everybody, whether you like it or not. And you will have to obey them. See, making those statements out there, and it applies to everybody. See, your behavior is now going to touch on the final outcome of this case. See, you are preparing the minds of people to either take the judgment that you give one way or the other.
And he was not alone. The NDC's Atubiga also getting 3 days for the same offense. What is the implication? And thanks so much for staying there. My name is Bright Nanam. The show is brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance. Now, the big day at the court happened just a few moments ago, and 10 days for Ken Crunchy, 3 days for the NDC's Atubiga. But what exactly did the judge say when he pronounced the judgment? Let's take a listen.
At the publication in the issue number 415 ISSN 39/11, Thursday, June 27, 2013. For the newspaper known as the New Statesman, that Stephen Atubiga reportedly on Asampa FM on the 25th day of June 2013 and on Boss FM Kumasi on 25th day of June 2013 made certain utterances touching and concerning the presidential election petition pending in this court, which appear to be contemptuous of this court. It is ordered that the said Stephen Atubiga do appear before this court on the 2nd day of July 2013 at 10 a.m., 10 o'clock in the forenoon to answer to the said utterances for determination thereof by this court.
Has gone on. It apparently occurred during an exchange involving somebody else who has been before this court. And I believe that it would be appropriate for your Lordship to give him the chance to express fully his apology and his withdrawal of these words before we say anything about them.
My Lords, I apologize for my irresponsible statements. I should have been a little bit careful and picked and chosen my words very carefully. I humbly apologize, and I think it will not happen again. And just for the record, my Lords, I started apologizing way before I even got the summons. I am responsible for my action. It was irresponsible of me, and I'm pleading with my Lords that if I'm given another chance, any platform that I get, I will use that as a positive tool for my colleagues to put out there how our words doesn't go well, and at the same time we owe a responsibility of putting responsible comments out there, which I take full responsibility for it. So I'm pleading with your Lordship to temper justice with mercy, to give me a second chance in life, and I promise I will put out good words, and I'll do what is right. There's no excuses for my mistakes, your Lordship. I take full responsibility for my irresponsible actions. Thank you very much, your Lord.
And of course, he got 3 days for that. But let me also play you what exactly happened when the third person, Wahine of the NPP, took the center stage at the Supreme Court.
What do you say? My Lord, the publication is false. It's false, yeah, and I've never made a statement on any of the FM stations in Kumasi. My Lord, on Thursday, I did not go to radio stations in Kumasi. And the manager of the FM station are prepared to testify. My Lord, with the greatest respect, I respect the Supreme Court, and I know the Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. And as a responsible citizen, I will never do anything to undermine the authority and the supremacy of the Supreme Court on the land. And I will therefore appeal to your Lordship to investigate this matter thoroughly to bring the perpetrators to book. And the apology this morning, Statesman also wrote in their paper that the publication was false and was misrepresenting, and they are apologizing to me for this. It's in page 2 in the Statesman. This morning. Right there. And the apology to you, he said, my Lord, I made it on the 17th of June, which on the 17th of June I was not on any of the FM stations in Kumasi. So that publication too is false.
Right, so let me quickly go to the presence of the Supreme Court here in Accra. Curtis Howard is right there. And Curtis, thanks so much for joining us here. Now, quickly tell us, what is the atmosphere there at the Supreme Court at the moment?
Yes, good evening, Nana Bright. I can confirm to you that before the ruling on this particular case was done, the atmosphere here at the court was very tensed up. Even as of now, the situation, even though it's calm, is a bit tensed up, and members of the NPP fraternity who just trooped out, you could see from their face that they're not too happy with the ruling, and most of them had worn solemn faces, and they're just coming out quietly. No one is speaking to the media at the moment. We're trying as possible to get some interview, and no one is trying to speak to the media. But as I speak to you now, there is a police vehicle stationed at the entrance of the Supreme Court, waiting for Ken Kranchi to come out so that he could be whisked away to wherever prison that the own prisons who are here. But as of now, as we are waiting, right now we are waiting for the warrant. They say the warrant is being signed so that he could come out. So the situation, everybody, the media, the police, and everybody are calmly waiting for him to come out so that the process can continue. Another right.
Now, Curtis, earlier before the ruling, we had police sirens rushing towards that direction of the Supreme Court. You said a police vehicle is parked at the entrance. Is that the only vehicle you've seen around?
Yes, and there are several vehicles from the top hierarchy of both the NDC and the NPP also stationed at the Supreme Court now. But the police has cordoned off the area. You know, before the ruling, some supporters and some persons wanted to come into the court so that they could be, at least they could witness the situation there. But the police has cordoned off the whole area, that's preventing people from entering the Supreme Court. But the vehicle that, I suspect that this is the vehicle that would take Ken Kranchi to the Nsawam prison. So at the moment, it is just parked right at the entrance of the Supreme Court. That's about the only police vehicle. The other vehicles that are also here are also stationed at Vantage Point, getting ready for Ken Kranchi to come out so that they can continue to the own prison. Right.
You said that there seems to be some kind of tension there. Do you see those who've been trooping there to be part of the proceedings? What is their reaction to those who are not in the court but were outside and perhaps might have heard the decision of the court?
Okay, yes, remember, before the ruling, most of the supporters that came to the Supreme Court premises were listening to the situation, monitoring the situation on the radio stations from their vehicles, and they were all seated there. And the others were making comments. The comments that were being made was that Ken should have apologized. Ken should have apologized. Ken should have done this. Everyone was just giving his or her own opinion about the situation. And others were even contemplating as to how long, the trial, the judges will sentence him, because others were really convinced that he will go into prison. Others were saying no, he will not go. And others there are so many comments were flying around. So immediately the ruling was made, and then others, some threw their hands in despair, like, well, we said that you should have apologized and everything. So, but it was a tense situation. There wasn't any sign of, from both sides, from the NDC and the NPP side, you could see that people were just a bit tensed up, and people broke into small groups and discussing the issue and everything. So at the moment, it was just a tense situation. Nobody was really commenting, because for fear that, hey, who knows what my comments may say might be prejudicial. So everybody just called into their shell and just waited. They are just standing advantage. As of now, they are all standing advantage points, just looking on, waiting to see whether Ken will appear anytime, any moment, so that they could go back to their various. But the situation here, I can confirm now, it's a bit calm. It's tense, though. It's a bit calm. As we are speaking now, Gloria Kufu is addressing the media, so we'll try to get. We are interviewing her at the moment, so we'll try to get her opinion on the whole situation and see how far with this particular case. But the situation is, at the moment, is calm, and everybody is just monitoring, waiting for Ken to come out for the case to continue.
Right, Curtis Howard, stay right there. We'll be getting more from you. But lawyer Atawuni has just joined this discussion. Thanks so much for staying there. Now, how significant is the decisions, the ruling of the court on these three persons, looking at the case, the election petition hearing?
Well, I mean, the election petition hearing will continue as normal, and I do not think that what has happened today will have any effect on it, except to say that the public will now have something additional to the substantive matter to talk about for quite some time to come.
And of course, this is, don't you say this, as a president said, the first election petition case that is being broadcast live on national TV, being picked up all across the country. How will this impact on the hearing from today?
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court for a very long time, if I should say for 6 months, have been admonishing commentators, media practitioners, politicians, lawyers, and everybody to be very mindful the way we comment on things going on with respect to this particular case, and that they have the power, except they do not want to readily use it. But if pushed to the corner, they will have no choice but to use it. So what has happened today can be cited as an illustration of the exercise of that power which the state has conferred on the judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court, to ensure that there is discipline with respect to what it does. But I mean, it's also significant to note that this has to happen, as you rightly said, in this unprecedented case of an election petition which the Supreme Court is being heard. Also because it is being broadcast, for the first time also. So a lot of new things have happened and are happening with respect to the occasion of this petition. But I think, the way forward, we should all then understand that we can speak, we can comment, we can write, we can publish, but we need to be careful what we say or do.
How would you also describe, I'm sure you monitored proceedings, and just before the three of them were called before the court, there were calls for the court to stop parading people before it. So where would you place what has happened on the back of the calls that were made?
Well, I do not think that the Supreme Court or the justices of the Supreme Court are very interested in calling people before them and warning them over statements they make about what they do or say. They are concerned with the challenge to their authority and the danger to the wider society of some of the comments that we make on air and other platforms. And don't forget, the Supreme Court has conferred on the superior courts the power to punish for contempt. And if they have that power to punish, how would they exercise it if they will not have the necessary procedural power to invite persons suspected of contempt to appear before them? That power is a necessary aspect of the substantive power to punish for contempt. So, of course, I believe the Supreme Court were to be listening to every whisper, every comment that may be distasteful and then be inviting people before it and punishing. That will really be an issue for concern. But I do not think the matter has degenerated to that extent.
And you followed proceedings at the court and the persons who came there. Now, what did you see from the language of the judges? Did you see that desire to ensure that this case is settled without perhaps what we all are expecting, where one party will say that, well, I'm not accepting? Did you see the language of the judgment indicating that the court is ready, prepared to ensure the case get to an end that will be accepted by all?
Well, I mean, if we are looking at it with respect to the incident, that is the sentencing of the two gentlemen.
Right.
I mean, that was a specific matter. Statements had been made, statements had been written, which the Supreme Court read, written and understood to be contemptuous. So whether or not those publications were contemptuous on a challenge to the authority of the court, I am very sure the court did not have a share of doubt about that. So it was then not an occasion to debate over whether or not those words and statements constituted contempt. So, I mean, the Supreme Court was very clear with what it wanted to do. I mean, to find out whether the persons did indeed make those statements and to find out how remorseful they were and then to move on. So these were the themes that have been constituted the business of the day on that particular matter.
What would you think would be the reaction of the lawyers involved in this case? What has just happened? In the first instance, they pleaded on behalf of the Deputy NPP Communications Director. Now, he got, if I should say, a punishment less than what we saw today. Did you see the lawyers, perhaps their mood, their body language? What would be their reaction?
Well, I do not think that the lawyers themselves were endowed as to the seriousness of the comments and writings of the gentlemen before the Supreme Court. But I can say that nonetheless, they thought that they had to come together to ask the judges to temper justice with mercy. So the moment they go on that point, that is asking for the judge's favor, then impliedly, I mean, they accept that or they acknowledge that what has been said and written, I mean, it's not something that should be said and written. And, you know, it becomes very embarrassing to you if you have to keep, I mean, pleading on behalf of people and then they also have to keep repeating the same conduct that you plead on their behalf for. So, I mean, well, I think that they, as lawyers, did what they felt they had to do to plead. And the decision was to be left to the judges to take. And the judges have taken it. They will have to respect that. Whatever body language that we may be reading may be a body language that will simply be interpreted to mean, well, we have done what we felt we had to do, and the court too has done what it felt it has to do. So we move on from that point.
Right. And just before I let you go, you are a lawyer, a legal mind. Now, in the case of Ken Crunchy, when he was finally asked to make the apology he used words like, if what I have done, or if what I have done seemed, and the judges were not pleased. In the courtroom, how important are the words that we choose to use?
Well, not to personalize that, but let's say that we have to use that as an example anyway.
Right.
I mean, the judges, invited him, I suppose, having read what he published in the newspaper, having interpreted and understood the content of those words, and therefore, came to the conclusion that what was contained in that publication was not acceptable. So, as to whether or not, the content of the publication was acceptable is a matter that I do not think required much debate. So, so far as the court is concerned. In any case, it is the court that will give content to the principle and then the rule of on contempt. So if they feel that what you have written is contemptuous, then, tactically, one would say that, well, you mean win the battle with them. So what you have to do is to maybe to apologize and then see if you could get a lesser punishment. And the words if and seems may seem to qualify. Whatever it is that you are rendering as an apology. And the judges may have interpreted that to be not sincere enough, that the person is not really convinced that he has done anything wrong. But he's saying if the judge believes that what he has done is wrong, then, but it does not suggest that he is really remorseful. That, I suppose, is the interpretation that the court will put on those words.
Right. Right. Thanks so much for speaking to lawyer Adawuni there. And let me go back to the Supreme Court. Eric Curtis Howard is right there again, and he will be joining some legal minds there to look at the implications of what happened. Now, Curtis, if you can hear me, who are you there with? Right. So go ahead. Who are you there with?
I'm here with Victor Adawudu. He's a member of the NDC communications team, and he's here to just throw more light on the whole situation. Hello, sir, and welcome to the Joy News channel.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Hello.
Yeah, lawyer Adawuni, thanks so much for joining me here on the Joy News channel. But first of all, your reaction to what has happened at the hearing today.
Hello, can you come again?
Well, my line quite bad, but let me try and raise my voice and see if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. If you can hear me. Now, I was asking you, what happened today? For the past week, we have seen what happened to the Deputy Communications Director of the NPP. And now today, two persons get sentenced for comments that the court thinks not right.
I think that the two that happened today is that, let me start from the last end. That is when Mr. Ken Koranchi was criminally found guilty and sentenced to 10 days imprisonment. Mr. Stephen Atubiga has been given 3 days imprisonment, and Mr. Boahin, the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, was set free, was dismissed because it was shown that the statement attributed to him was a false publication and he never made such. It is unfortunate that it has happened this way because the court has sent clear signals that it will uphold its integrity and make sure that the nation does not descend as it says, because they think that their utterances is a recipe for chaos and disaster. I think that this is another signal that the court has sent that nobody, anybody, the Constitution is bigger than anybody in this country, and anybody who dares the courts would apply its sanctions. It's rather unfortunate that we citizens of this nation should be finding ourselves in this position. And I think that if Mr. Ken Koranchi was a little bit remorseful, yes, he has constitutional right to say that what he has said, but the court has the decision to exercise its right within the confines of the law, and to the law lords, they think that they have done what is just.
And earlier, of course, both sides, the respondents and the petitioners, have pleaded on behalf of the Deputy Communications NPP Director. Now, how do you feel now? I mean, both sides, how do you feel now?
Yeah, I think earlier in the day, all the lead counsels have spoken to the media to the abhorrence for certain languages, indecent languages being used on the airwaves, being used by people. And they also affirm their support for the court, that they will not go and plead on behalf of anybody who makes any responsible statement.
Right.
I think the bar also has come. The lead counsels have also spoken, and it is taking us to some height that anybody who will find himself no lawyer, and as the lawyers have said that this will be the first and last that they will be coming to court to plead on somebody's behalf. I think that they have sent a clear signal, and today it's not a good day for us as a nation, because nobody will want to visit injury on he or his friend. But if it becomes necessary, we need to uphold it. And I think that's what the court did.
Right. Thanks so much for speaking to today's big story. The NDC, a member of the NDC legal team, lawyer Adawudu. And a lot more of you are sending in comments on what has happened at the Supreme Court very soon. I'll be going through them. But what is Ghana talking about? What has just happened? Let's take a listen.
Make sure that we should respect the judges. You see, what the 9 judges are doing is more than everyone Ghanaian, I can say. So the only thing we can do to stop this unnecessary comments and other things is to make sure that the law deal with them. The law take its own course.
The Samia Oku case, when he did something and he was being sanctioned, at least it has set some paces for, how should I even say, sets an example for others to follow.
Of course, a lot more of you are following us and telling us what you think about the case on our social media platform. Let me quickly get through some of them for you now. Of course, we're asking you how we can curb what is happening. And let me get some of the comments. Paul Boache thinks that by sending those who make those comments to court, we'll be reducing the way people talk about the case. And then Mark Ohineba Bunsu, it is simple. Just close all media. Well, that is what Mark thinks. And then Bright says, lose your job. Well, Constance Saka De Santos says, only legal-minded people should be made to comment on the court case to curl out those unsavory comments. That's what you want to see. And then Bright Benefit Preker thinks that by making laws, we'll get the situation resolved. And Anna for Don Rogers, Awins or Karim, you said the best solution is sending them to the law court, and when they are caught by the law, then they find them and ban the media service in question from operating. And this is a long one from Jonathan Duke says, sometimes I find it difficult to understand how some presenters understand the code of conduct governing journalism. And most of these contemptuous comments being made on the radio are as a result of questions the presenter asks. It is good that people are being brought to face the law. I think it is high time checks are done on the social media because people are just abusing them anyhow. A long one there, but that is how you want to say it. And then Prince David Berger Lincoln, you want the media house to also stop certain questions that pushes these people to make such comments. And Bonti Benjamin is talking about public education. You think that making education available will ensure that people say or do the right thing. A lot of you have more of the comments, and of course we'll be staying right on this particular issue today. And 2 of them, Ken Crunchy, 10 days, whilst Atigubiga 3 days. That's the decision of a court. A third person was released free of charge. This has been today's big story, and it was brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance. My name is Bright, and now, of course, we'll have Focus on Africa coming up next. But when Israel Live comes up at 8, we'll have more on the Supreme Court and others. But for now, Innovation 101 starts right now.